Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Mappening number 5. Thank you so much for being here for a little cartography craziness. I have a couple guests with me tonight. I just threw the link out to a couple friends, and they decided to jump in. I feel sorry for them. Guys, go ahead and introduce yourselves.
I'm Matt. I run the channel Fistful of Dice, and I work with Tim over at Absolute Tabletop. And I'm excited to be in the Mappening tonight. I was planning on watching and mapping some Crore tonight, so it'll be cool to hang out with Nate and Tim and not get as much work done as I probably would have otherwise.
And I am Tim. I am half of Tabletop Terrors. The other half is James, my brother, and I am a quarter of Absolute Tabletop. I'm going to be working on my submission to Nate's map contest tonight. So I'm pretty excited. I've had a couple of false starts, but I finally hit that spark that I think is going to take me to where I need to go with it. So we'll see, man. I'm jazzed.
Nice. Yeah, I'm excited for that. And yeah, I've gotten a lot of great submissions already, including Matt's and several others. I think I've got about 9 so far. And the deadline, everyone, is July 14, so still got a while left. And I put the link to the rules and such in the description of this video. If you've been on the video for 30 minutes or more, you might need to hit refresh there because I just added it, I think, about 20, 30 minutes ago. So that people could have quick access to that. And I'll probably give a few reminders about that as we're going here for newer people who are joining. But yeah, feel free to be working on that or work on whatever, do your thing. If you've, maybe you're doing some adventure planning for a game this weekend, maybe you're making a map of your world, maybe you're just sitting down doing some world building, maybe you're folding your laundry, I don't know. But either way, welcome to the Mappening. I'm going to be working on a map commission. I hope my tablet's being a little fussy here, but I'm going to be working on a map that I'm doing for someone, and I will share my screen here and give people a look at this, what I've got so far. It's not much. You guys see that?
Yes, I can.
Okay, cool.
Looking good.
So I've got, let me get my layers here so I can hide my rough shape. There we go. So I've got a little bit done here, just kind of a rough shape on,
How cool.
on parchment. But
That
yeah,
is awesome.
so this is a really cool idea. And, DMs out there, I think you maybe can get some inspiration from what this guy's doing. This guy's having me make this map. It is a world that had some kind of, I won't get too into the details, partially because I don't remember them because I read the thing like a month ago. I should probably refresh myself on that. But there was some kind of magical cataclysm sort of thing or magical event that caused this, I guess, maybe this sundering of the world in a way, to use a common fantasy term. But yeah, it's basically scattered this land, and there's this big crater in the middle. There's going to be a city at the bottom of this lake in the middle, and yeah, there's all sorts of other things. There are some things on this map that are not true to necessarily how our Earth geography works, but that's magical, and so that's kind of an interesting and cool challenge for me. So anyway, I'll be talking a little bit more about it here and there, some unique aspects of this. One of the things I guess I should say is, excuse me, cream soda burp. This guy has it divided into 4 kind of regions, quartiles, quadrants, call them what you will. And I think I had actually, yeah, I had drawn those in there just to kind of give myself a reminder. And they are dominated by different, I don't know, elements, I guess. So this one is going to be the elemental plane of earth is dominant. This one is going to be the elemental plane of fire being dominant. Right here is going to be air, and down here is water. So yeah, it should be interesting, and I'm going to be doing it in color eventually. Probably won't be doing any color tonight, but that will be an interesting and cool challenge for me too, to add some color and try to make it flow a little bit instead of just being like, here's the cutoff point, everything here is blue, everything here is orange, but
Sure.
have it like, I don't know, kind of gradually change from landmass to landmass.
Yeah, well, and I was noticing too that there's a couple land masses that are like in the midst of that split, so I imagine that there's some interesting things going on there, and then that center continent has all four of them kind of converging on that point, so
Right.
that's really cool. I like stuff with elements and things like that. It's like a really easy way to just like set like guidelines and boundaries for yourself in a world, so. And
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen a map with that sort of shape to it, where it's almost like a spiraling sort of clock almost of land masses. That's really cool.
Yeah, I feel like I've seen some kind of like it, but I don't remember where. Yeah, I love it. I think it's really cool. So I'm excited for this. The other unique thing about this one is I'm not going to be labeling anything. And I think that's another thing for maybe DMs to think about. Maybe instead of handing your players a map that's all labeled and nice, maybe you give them a map of some explorer who just was interested in the geography, or somehow they find this, or maybe they kind of make it themselves after sailing around, but they don't know what things are called, or maybe it's rather uninhabited. I don't know. But I think that's a cool idea too. So I'm just going to be doing the geography, and he's going to be leaving it to players to explore and label as they go, I think.
That's incredible.
That's very cool. I like that.
I love that. That is such a cool idea.
Yeah, I thought so too. So, yeah, I don't have too much done here yet, but I'm actually gonna unplug my tablet and try a different USB port because I've been getting a little laggy. Oh, and then I'm gonna check on some of the comments in the chat. Oops, I think I just unplugged my webcam instead. Not that it matters right now, but it's a tangled spaghetti mess back here. So Matt, tell me about this Crore map you're working on.
Yeah, man. So I made the coastline for Crore a while ago. I'll see if I can get a better shot of it. But what I did was I went online and looked at maps of what Mars would look like if it had oceans. Basically taking the topography of Mars and just filling it with, filling the deep areas with water. And this is what it would look like. And so this is basically like, this would be the southern hemisphere of Mars. So this would wrap all the way around the planet. So this is the entirety of Crore. Like you could walk this way and you'd appear over here. Like you could just go whoop, whoop. It's like one unbroken huge continent, and then just a huge ocean. So what I did was I did the coastlines and scanned it in and cleaned it up in Photoshop, and I printed out like 5 or 6 of them. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to map out like the regions. So I'm going to like have like a rough like this is going here, this is going here, this is going here, and then I'm going to drop another coastline on top of that and trace the actual features over that and like scan each step as I go through, because I found that like I mess up really easily when I'm inking. So I like to be able to go back to, I'm going to go back to when I just had the coastline and redo the features because I messed up inking here or whatever. So, yeah.
Yeah, man, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, that it kind of reminds me of the old school. I don't remember where I heard it. I think it was actually on a Brigade Con thing. I think it might have been Nathan Like, who does the channel, Earl T. Gray, was interviewing some old TSR grognard, some guy who worked for TSR back in the day, and he mentioned something about the old technique of drawing maps, and I think I don't know much about it. Some of the viewers might, but they would actually kind of like have tracing paper or something like that, or I don't know. But it was like, yeah, they would have multiple sheets of paper that showed like the different layers and steps, similar to what a lot of us do in Photoshop or GIMP nowadays. So
that's cool. I love like hearing about that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Yep. I am just closing GIMP here, and I'm going to reopen it. Yeah, so I do use GIMP. The only things that I've changed in GIMP to customize it a little bit is I got a new skin, make it black and gray, so I can pretend I'm using Photoshop, and
Noise.
and because it looks better, and it looks less like a Windows 3.1 program.
Isn't that GIMP for work groups?
Yeah, exactly. AOL keyword GIMP. So, sorry. Okay, got myself a little bit. Yeah, AOL, man, what a thing.
What a thing.
So the other thing I changed is I just put it in single window mode, which I think you can just go to Windows and then click single window mode, and that way you can't move anything around, but since I have a bigger monitor, I just like it all in one window. I don't need to move things around. All right, I'm going to try again here.
So I'm just going to leave my mic unmuted so that I can talk while I'm drawing, but if it ever gets irritating, just let me know, because I do have a fan on in here.
Oh, no, I think it's going to be just fine, and I do the same thing. I know in a lot of our games, I try to, I'm learning, like you guys like to mute, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I got to learn that, but I'm not as good at it as you guys are. It is a good idea.
The thing that made it easier for me, and I'm going to put my foot in my mouth because I can't remember what the shortcut is, but there's a shortcut that you can do on your keyboard to mute and unmute, and I'm going to look it up here.
I so pale.
I so pale.
If you guys haven't seen that video, that made me laugh, and I feel like I just was a fly on the wall in the middle of something I never should have seen in my whole life. I was like so happy.
I so pale. So it's Control D to mute or unmute your microphone. Oh, James is saying it in the chat.
Yeah, James is in the chat. Yeah.
He said it 5 times, and I just ignored him.
Yeah. So hey, everybody in the chat. I hope you're all doing well. I'm sorry I'm not giving you the love you deserve. But I will. I'm just trying to get my setup here so I can actually start mapping.
Sounds good, man.
And yeah. So what are other people working on in the chat? Maybe type that in. What are you guys working on? What are you doing? Maybe you already did that and I ignored you. If so, I apologize. But I do want to know. Okay, tablet, yeah, it's still pretty laggy, but oh well, we're just gonna make do. And let me try I'm gonna screen share again here so people can see what I'm working on. I am gonna show tonight a little bit of how I shade mountains digitally. That's one thing I know I want to show. Other than that, I'm open to suggestions. You know, within reason, I'll maybe do a few things that people mention. Daniel Johnson is folding laundry. I'm prophetic. What can I say?
I should be folding laundry. I got piles and piles of it that I'm gonna hide from James and Parker while they're here.
So let's talk about your favorite hiding spots. I'm a huge fan of the garage.
So I have the benefit of having my bedroom upstairs.
Oh, yeah.
So my bedroom is a wasteland, a battlefield of laundry.
Yeah, and other things.
And other things. But the problem with doing that in the summertime is we get hobo spiders really bad in this area. And hobo spiders, they don't climb on the wall, they don't go in the corners, they live in piles and garbage, and they're just the worst. So having piles of things in your house in this area this time of year is a big, like, that's a no-no. Just don't do it. Like, hobo spiders are not poisonous, but they're gross as hell. Like, I don't want them in my house.
Well, they got their little hat with the top that opens up.
They got the 5 o'clock shadow and the red noses.
Can of beans.
Can of beans. They have a red polka dot handkerchief on the end of a stick over
Yeah.
their shoulder, and they come in and they're like, "Day of work for a meal."
They do. I open up that tiny little sack, and it's just webs in there. I'm like, why are you doing it? Why don't you just use webs to make this? Why do you have a handkerchief, Spider?
Oh boy.
I'm not going to get anything done.
I'm getting stuff done. I'm writing
I
things
know.
while I'm being an idiot.
Sounds like there's a lot of productivity, a lot of variety of activities here is what
Yeah.
I'm seeing in the chat. So don't worry if you're not getting anything done.
Okay. This
Other
is
people
the
making them.
illusion of productivity.
The illusion of productivity.
I
Some
was
people
around
working
a
on the
long time.
contest map.
What's
Me
that?
too.
Some people working on the contest map with you, Tim. Your competition is out there.
Oh, guys, you're going to beat me. Let's just get that straight.
Here, Tim, I'm just going to send you this map right here. You can pretend it's yours. Oh. No. It's going to be great, man.
I was going to say, your map breaks all the rules.
Yeah. What was I going to say? Someone asked me, where was it? Now I can't find it. Abdullah Mohammed, hey Nate, do you remember the map I sent you a long time ago? I don't. I'm sorry. I get a lot of maps. I love them. I get them,
My dog is-
times a week, but I don't.
My dog's hacking up something behind me here.
Oh gosh.
Are you okay, Babs? Dude, no. Babs, that's not a toy.
All right, so I'm actually going to try to do something here now that I've checked some comments. I'm going to show how I shade mountains. My newer method that I've done on Matt's Aeronaut map and on Mike the Piper's map of Balos. So what I usually do is I have an overlay layer. So I'm going to go into my mountains group here, which this is another thing I've learned. I don't remember, maybe from you, Tim, or I don't know who, but someone recently was mentioning groups, the importance of groups in Photoshop for layers.
Oh, definitely.
So
Yeah, I probably mentioned that.
yeah.
I live by that.
Oh, I see what I did here. There's the new layer thing. So we're going to go mountain shading. I often do actually like 2 or 3 shade layers because sometimes I like to get it really dark and deep. And here is a key thing that I've learned, and I learned this from Fantastic Maps, is that rather than just choosing a color you think looks good, make it a oh man, it's been a while. I'm rusty.
Get back in the swing of things.
Back to layers. Instead of just making it standard, we're going to make it a overlay layer. Boom. So in GIMP, that's right here, the mode. That's what you want. The layer mode should not be normal, but make it overlay. And the other thing I've done, and there's instructions on Fantastic Maps, and you might be able to find some, is finding a grungy brush. So I'll use this one right here. Just kind of a smattering of different shapes. And one of the keys here is there's different transparencies in this brush too, so I can make it really big here so people can see it a little better. Woo. And if I just nope, not doing it. Okay, so no success. Let me make sure I got mapping standard.
See, and it's rough because I don't know GIMP,
Yeah,
so I can't even jump in.
I know. Tim, I was so glad when I heard you're going to be here, though, because I know you're going to be able to help me out with some things here. I'm going to be like,
Sure.
Tim, how do I
Dude,
I
hit
want
me
me-
up.
Here's a question for you, Tim.
Sure.
Let's just say, and you might not know in GIMP, but even if you tell me in Photoshop, sometimes it's not too different. Let's just say that I wanted to make all my black lines on an entire layer dark brown instead. You know
Sure.
an easy way to do that?
So, yes. Do you have all of the black lines on one layer right now?
No, I don't, but I only want the black lines from one layer.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, so in Photoshop, that's hyper easy. What you would do is you would duplicate that layer,
Mm-hmm.
And then in Photoshop, there are layer styles, so to speak. So
Mm-hmm.
you double click on the far right of a layer, and a layer style box appears. Actually,
Okay.
I can share my screen too. I don't know if that would help at all, but I probably won't. But so I won't bother. But there's something called a color overlay, and what you can do is you check a box, and it will immediately overlay a solid color or a gradient on top of what you're working on.
Okay.
So it's essentially like coloring the whole thing all at once.
Yeah.
And it's super helpful. It's really good for outlines, like what you're talking about.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna have to look into that in GIMP later,
Well, here
because.
you keep working, and I'll look up
Oh no, I
color
don't even want to
overlay.
do it now because.
Oh, gotcha.
Don't worry about it. Um, I'll talk to you later about that if I get stuck.
For sure.
I'm not sure I want to do that. I was just looking at some other maps and noticed, some of the like good color maps actually don't have any black lines. Like their coastlines, it's all brown, and then they're using lots of greens and grays and of course the blues for the sea, and it looked really good. So.
Some of my favorite art in general is art without black lines.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you look, one of the instructions we gave Jake Perez, who does a lot of our art, specifically in a few of the Sewers Under Sandwall pieces, it was we didn't want hard black outlines, but instead just use the colors, just color palette that darkens and lightens around. And you can see it makes it look much more vibrant.
Yeah, totally. All right, so I think I got this grungy brush to work here. If I actually switch my my brush dynamics, though, oh, yeah, this is being so unresponsive.
Dude, that's a bummer.
I know it is. I think maybe I need to just plug it in alone in one of the back ports of my PC, but
that would probably work.
It doesn't reach. So I have an extender somewhere, but I don't even want to mess with it right now.
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay, so if I change my brush dynamics to normal, no dynamics, people will better be able to see. Oh, it's dynamics off. There we go. So if I just click there, you can kind of see what the grungy brush does for shading. Some of it is less transparent, some of it is more. And yeah, it just kind of gives it, you can't see distinct lines. So if I were to use a plain round brush, sometimes you can see pretty distinct lines where I'm ending. But the other thing is that my brush dynamics are set for my shading dynamic. It rotates, it's random in size, or no, it's not. Nope, it's pressure opacity, angle is random, and it's got a little jitter to it. So anyway, that's what I use for my shading. And if we go into my overlay layer, and by the way, I just have to give a shout out to Rob's Voice, who I saw in the chat here.
Yeah, man.
And then I will get back to the chat in a minute here after I show this shading and answer some of the questions that have been asked. And thank you everyone so much for being here and hanging out in the chat. Okay, so that's my forest layer. I don't want that. Mountain shade, there we go. Okay. Oh yeah, see, this is just not. Not really showing up. I don't know why it's not getting dark. Okay.
Are you in overlay mode?
I am, yeah.
Maybe try it without and see if there's any settings that would be affecting it.
Yeah, okay.
Sometimes that overlay mode is tricky.
Yep. No, I hear you. I wonder, oh, here's an idea. Nope, that wouldn't be it. Okay. Let me hide that layer actually real quick and just see. Nope. I might not be able to show that tonight. Okay, yeah, let me switch it to from overlay to normal.
Man, those mountains look so good.
Oh, wow. Yeah, look at that, Tim.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I had this problem before. What did I do?
That looks good.
Yeah, that was really good,
Just
huh?
leave
It
it
is.
like that.
It's perfect.
There's my mountain shade. Okay.
Perfect.
That's how you
Dude.
shade mountains, everybody.
That's gonna get a lot of views. Like, I'm
Here's
jealous.
what you do. You take a
Just
charcoal
straight up.
pencil and just rub it on there with your face.
With your face, you get a hobo spotter, see, and you lash a crayon to his back.
You know what I think it is? I'm using the wrong brush. That is what it is. I remember now.
Yeah,
There was
that'll do
something
it.
about brushes being, I can't remember, it was like the brush mode, like grayscale versus, I can't remember what it was. Like being able to show it in different colors too was an
Yep.
issue.
Yeah,
Because it can be a straight black brush that will only show black.
yeah.
Anyway, I think I fixed that, and that's why I have this brush here. Tim, you seem to know what I'm saying, kind of.
No, I know exactly what you're saying. You're not crazy. So, especially when something is in grayscale, it can only be okay. So, the brush you selected, based on the options I can glean, not knowing GIMP very well, it
Yeah.
looks like it creates shading using those checkboxes you were using by alternating and varying the pattern so that it gets that Bob Ross sort of on the canvas looking thing.
Yeah.
If it doesn't have any colors to switch to, essentially it's just doing all different grays, or it's not able to use different colors, it just makes a black streak.
Yeah.
So if you're not in CMYK or if you're not in full color, it can't use that effect, and it just does that kind of stuff usually.
Yeah. And guess what? My other brush doesn't seem to be working either, so. Troubling.
All right, so let's look here. Paintbrush mode normal, brush size, the aspect ratio. All right. Is there anything down on the bottom left there where it says apply jitter or smooth stroke or any of that stuff? Does that affect the brush itself?
On the brush dynamics, you mean?
Yeah, on the dynamics there.
So, yeah.
Nate,
Yes.
hey man, I see you working on this, and I want to help you so bad. I don't know GIMP, but I've been messing with overlay layers.
Yeah. Tell me.
So, okay, can you go back to your layers for me?
Mm-hmm.
The layers area.
Mm-hmm.
And you have that one on overlay. Why is it indented? Because that is a group.
Yeah, because it's under the mountains group, yeah.
Okay,
Is
gotcha.
the mountains group overlaid?
So
As a group?
mountains is normal.
Okay.
Could that be why?
Well, yeah, because usually that I know of, groups look like
Yeah.
folders.
Yeah.
Those look like something else.
Okay. So let me try. Now this is GIMP, so maybe that's why, because it's not Photoshop. But let me try making a new layer that's separate.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, my tablet's freaking out a little bit. I wonder if I have dust on it.
So that does look more like a group with the folder.
Yeah. So I feel like it does have something to do with being nested under that layer.
Yeah. Oh, here's new layers. Okay.
Yeah, like in Photoshop, that's usually it's either there are a couple of different things. There's a vector mask or an adjustment layer, which is way different.
There you go.
There it is.
Okay. Yep. Thank you, James. You're the man.
I know, dude. I kept seeing you do it, and I was uploading something, and I was working, and I was like, I don't want to join the Hangout because my internet's gonna explode. And then I was like, I gotta get in there. I'm like, I gotta just help them out.
Yeah, dude. You're the man. All right. I'm gonna let people look at this awesome explosion. This is a meteor that has struck my mountains.
World building with mistakes.
Yeah. All right. Cool. I'm gonna go into the chat for a bit, and people can look at this wonderful meteor comet thing. So, yeah, in case people don't know, Rob's voice used to make wonderful Photoshop images, has made a bunch of of some of us, including the Bob Ross that some of you have seen on the Mappening with my face superimposed. So, yeah. So Aurora mappenings are usually about an hour and a half. So yeah. Royce Kelly, any recommendations for a digital drawing tablet? If you're just getting started, a lot of people start with the Wacom Bamboo tablet because it's usually like $100 or less. But the one I have is quite popular and is just a little step up, and that's the Wacom Intuos. Wacom is spelled W-A-C-O-M. You can get other brands and save quite a bit of money. But the people who know, and I'm not one of them, seem to say Wacom is worth it, even if you have to get one of the cheaper Wacom tablets.
Yeah, that Intuos, Cassie has an Intuos, and that's what I use. Granted, not quite to quite the same effect, but I really like it. I think for the price, which it's $90 on Amazon, it's absolutely worth it. Just to start out. In fact, you can even get one $60 if you get it refurbished. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I like that little one. Yeah.
See, I think is that the Bamboo? Are you sure that's the Intuos?
Yes. Now this is probably some seller on Amazon is selling it refurbished for $60. That's probably not a deal that's going to stick around, but
okay.
You can get it reliably, the old version, quote unquote, which I don't know what that means. I think they came out with a newer one.
Yeah.
Oh, it's $73. It's an ugly color, but I think people can get over that.
Yeah, and that might be, I wonder if that's the small too. I don't know if mine's the medium or I think it's a large.
Yeah, I think I use the medium. The one that's $73 is 8.25 by 6.7, so small, I'm assuming.
Yeah. Yeah, still. So yeah, those are a good starting place. And I kind of would recommend, if you've never tried one before, unless you just got money to burn, start small, and or start with a basic one, and if you like it, jump from the $80 one to a $300 one. And if you find that you're really getting a lot of use out of it, then who knows? Jump to a $1,000 one, the kind where you can actually draw on the screen.
Yeah, because it's like the upgrade sort of. It can add pen pressure and maybe a few other options, but it's not like there's not so much above the Intuos that I need starting out right now. Exactly. That would be worth the money for me. I'm like, no, this is everything. It does everything I need.
Yes, totally.
And I don't know much about Wacoms, but I have played guitar for 20 years. And it's one of those things when people say, well, what kind of guitar should I get? You don't want to get a guitar that's always going to go out of tune and make your learning experience bad. So you want to get that perfect level of growing into it, but also it sounds good enough that when you're playing it, it's a proper representation of it, your skill level. And to me, a Wacom sounds like just that. It's like $80-$90 so that you can have fun learning, and pen pressure isn't going to make you think you're a bad artist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. One thing I wanted to say is if you're into maps, I love getting maps, and I love it when people send them to me on Facebook or Twitter. But I would also recommend get your maps out there to as many people as possible, and still send them to me. I'm selfish, so yes, still send them to me.
Send them to me for sure.
I want them in my own inbox, so I don't have to go look for them. No. But I will just give a plug for the Cartographers Guild website. Which is, that's like a lot of super professional stuff, but also some people who are, less professional and just kind of saying, hey, I'm trying this and learning, So it's got a pretty wide variety. And then the other one is the map making subreddit. So that's where I will often share a lot of my stuff just to get feedback from people. A lot of times, unfortunately, I end up just working on things like crazy and finishing a map and then putting it there and then getting feedback, and I'm like, oh, but I'm done. Yeah, so I need to get better at maybe posting work in progress stuff. So.
Something else I saw on Fantastic Maps when I was just trying to figure out what kind of map I was going to do was the it's called the Adonit Jot Touch. Which is basically, what it is it's a pen it's a Bluetooth pen it's a pressure sensitive stylus for an iPad.
Oh.
And so what it is if you already have an iPad, like I had an iPad, so I thought, well, I didn't know if I wanted to go ahead and do a Wacom. I thought I might want to do one of these, and The only issue is you have to make sure you find the right software on the iPad for it, which will cost you between $3 and $10. But if you already have an iPad and think, oh, okay, maybe I don't want to buy just a Wacom for my, laptop. Maybe I want to use this for other things.
Yeah.
That's one that what's it called? Fantastic Maps recommends as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, Fantastic Maps is a little shopping guide. I've been meaning to do one on, probably on, I don't know if I'd put it on. Oh, geez, we got major fireworks going on here, guys.
I heard that. Is that what that was?
Blowing up. Yeah. My dog is in here just shaking like a leaf. Poor dog. Yep, here she is. She's like under my legs right now. She just heard that one. Oh, boy. So, anyway, what were we saying? I don't even remember.
Shopper's Guide.
Yes. Yeah, I've been meaning to put one on one of my websites, just for some of the stuff I use. And, yeah, but Fantastic Maps does have a really good one. There's also really good ones on the Cartographers Guild, some cartographers equipment guides. So check those out too. All right. So I got to delete my old mountain shade layer here. So yeah, that's really good to know that if I put them in this group or whatever it is, if it really is a group, they have to all be the same mode, layer mode.
Well, and that's the thing. I don't know what that is called, what you've done there, because a group, as you can see, is the folder. I don't know what the layer with like sub-layers is.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to be the GIMP version of an adjustment layer or a layer mask. Like
well, yeah, but I think he just has some stuff on them, so it's interesting to me.
Yeah, I don't remember how I did it. Now I'll have to look into actually doing a folder. I might have just I think I overheard you guys talking about layer groups, and I was like, I should do that, and then I just maybe stumbled into a way that I thought was doing it, but wasn't really.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So James, you're a computer guy. What's your guess on the laggy tablet issue? Like here I'm going and it's like, yeah, not.
So
not going.
Is that actually the tablet, not the
My mouse works great. So you watch. Like that's much more responsive. And then let me try the tablet here. Pressing now. Oh, whoops, that's the wrong brush anyway, but I can switch back to my other thing. So
but
anyway.
Still.
But yeah, still very laggy.
Now, can you do a test and see if it is laggy in Paint?
Yes, but I don't want to right now.
That's fair. But the idea is, the first thing I would do is I would go to Paint or another drawing program and try it, and then you could see if it maybe had something to do with GIMP specifically or with just the tablet to the computer.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, I understand what you mean, and I can also understand how that would be very frustrating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I plug in an external hard drive to my computer at work, the mouse lags like crazy because it's drawing all the power. And so what I found is, like you said, it's too far away, but I have to plug the external hard drive in to the USB ports on the back because if it's next to the mouse, it's just drawing too much power, I think.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So that would be my guess.
Mm-hmm.
You said you're in a hub, right?
Well, I now plugged straight into my tower, so.
Oh, gotcha.
I unplugged from the hub. But anyway, the way I shade mountains here is first I just do a kind of a general, and you could actually do this with a round brush because you're just trying to get the broad overall shading. Then I'm going to go back in later and do some more subtle shading. But yeah, so first I do mountain shade layer and just kind of go on these. And you notice these are looking pretty pixelated because I'm so far zoomed in. But I think that's going to be just fine on a map this size because if we zoom out, just remember the overall size of this map. These mountains are tiny compared to the overall size of the map. Even if you're right here or right here, you can't really tell. So I think that's going to be fine. But when I zoom in here, it doesn't look as great. And then I'll do a little bit more of this kind of overall shading. Let me make sure I've got my mapping shade. Yep. Yeah, I don't think I want size. Just Come on, brush. There we go. Yeah, it's so laggy. Yeah, I bought new RAM, and I on Amazon, like, and I wanted to make sure I got it on Amazon because it had the 2-day shipping, the Prime shipping, and I wanted to get that and get it going here for the Mappening because I was like, I don't want to have that laggy tablet issue, but I probably should have tested it like yesterday.
Can you try one more thing for me?
Sure.
Can you hide the ruler?
Hide the ruler. Yeah.
I know that sounds ridiculous. Some people are just saying so. Probably Windows.
Yep. So where would that be here in GIMP?
In the Windows drop down, usually.
I have it right here, I think. Show rulers.
Now try
the image.
Yeah, that wasn't showing up for me on your page, so sorry for just friggin' constantly repeating myself. I'm like, Nate, just click on the button, and you're like, I'm there. Yeah, see if there's any change at all.
Yeah, there's a change.
There you go. Did it fix it?
What?
Boom goes the dynamite. I'm so sorry you bought RAM, Nate. I'm so sorry, buddy.
Dude,
I mean, RAM's not bad. There's no problem with having more RAM.
This way I can work on maps while I play Overwatch and The Witcher 3.
There you go, man. Exactly.
Yeah.
Simultaneously.
At the same time.
Multi-RAM drifting.
Multi-RAM drifting.
Okay, but seriously, at the same time, like, it came into my head and I don't know what it's from. Can anyone help me out there?
Multi-RAM drifting?
No, at the same time.
Oh, I don't know.
It's from
I have no idea.
Okay. We'll see if someone in the chat's got it. Yeah.
There's a song by the Dresden Dolls called Tracking Treasure Down where they say those words, but not like that.
Okay.
Oh, no. I'm being unhelpful, basically.
You are. You're
Good
a
job,
jackass. So, anyway.
That's fun knowledge and name calling.
Let's see here. I have a question from B. Magyar. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. Do you prefer pen and paper mapping or digital? You know, I still draw better. Like, I feel like I could probably do. I don't know. I'm pretty happy with how these mountains turned out, but it's taken me a while. It's taken me a lot of practice. This is the first time that I've drawn my mountains in GIMP digitally, and there was a lot of erasing and a lot of like, nope, gonna start over with a new layer. So yeah, but I'm pretty happy with how these turned out, and I think that I'm gonna be doing a lot more digitally now. The only thing that I still have, I think, some work to do on, and I'll probably be asking Tim for help here and there because he knows Photoshop and digital stuff pretty well, is the text. I think the Aeronaut map turned out okay, but I also think I think I could do better maybe and learn a little more, and at the very least streamline the process of getting text on a map and getting it to stand out.
Sure.
So yeah. But other than that, I'm pretty comfortable now with the digital stuff, especially now that I hid my ruler. Why does that
right?
make a
Isn't that
difference?
complete BS?
What?
I'm glad that fixed it because other suggestions suggested downgrading to an older version of GIMP, which wouldn't be too bad, but they said it had other problems with the tablet, so I'm glad it worked out. I don't think this answers your question because it isn't quite how you said it, but in the movie Office Space, there's a guy named Lawrence, and he asked him, Lawrence, what would you do if you had $1 million? It's well, I forgot his name, but it's Jethro from the Beverly Hillbillies movie, and he's got a mullet and a big like handlebar mustache. Man, if I had $1 million, you know what I'd do? 2 chicks at the same time. So I don't think that's the quote, but that's the most popular quote that I can find for at the same time.
Dude, and I'm not sure why this reminded me of it, but I feel like it's in a fake commercial. I feel like, based on you saying that, James, I feel like it's like, you can enjoy a burger and a pizza at the same time. Like, I'm just, I don't know why.
Thank you, Jake. I'm not even going to say that name.
It's Diedrich Bader, yeah.
Diedrich. I wanted to say Diedrich, and I'm like, I know that's not how you say it. Diedrich Bader. He was also Nope, think of the wrong guy. He wasn't in Batman, was he?
He voices Batman in the
Animated series.
not the original animated series, and
Brave and the
not
Bold.
yeah, Batman Brave and the Bold. That's exactly it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I just remember seeing his name in Batman.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to tell people about the process, the next step here. So for me, I usually, and it depends on your style of mountains a little bit, but I'll usually now, I decreased my brush size quite a bit. I'm down to a size 7, and I'm going to actually shade the side of some of these lines. So I'm doing the right side is shaded and the bottom. So the light is coming from the upper left light source. It depends on where your light source is. You want to be consistent with all items on your map. So I'm shading the bottom right of that line just a little bit. And I do have pressure opacity set, so I should probably just do it nice and lightly. But I'll do it fairly dark, I guess. The mountains are going to be small enough where. So you do want probably some shading on your right side, although it can look fine if you don't. I've been meaning to get to some videos on specifically on mountains other than my very first one, which now I look at that one and I'm like, I do not like those mountains at all. I like them way different now. But so I will do that this summer. That is my promise to you. I will do probably a video or two on mountains. But just don't forget, you don't have to get all fancy. You can just, I mean, honestly, just do something simple. And if you can't do the ridgeline style, don't worry about it. You'll get it eventually, or keep practicing.
Yeah. That's something, Nate, that I sort of had to come to terms with was my mountains. Like, I felt like my mountains were too cartoony. I couldn't get the ridgeline style down. I loved the way that you did mountains. But then I eventually just kind of learned to love the way that I did mountains and kind of just made the style work for my maps. And now I really like them. I really like the way they look and the way that I just really simply do the shading and stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, Matt. Yep. I like yours too, man.
Thanks.
And Matt, I'm looking at yours right now, and I'm going to project it there. I remember now that you mention, and now that I'm looking at you, I remember I did that actually. Mike in the chat asked, "Do you have a homebrew world and all that?" And so I do. It's in Char. I've hardly developed it at all. I don't run games all that often, but when I do run games, it's in that world for D&D. And I did the same thing with my map when I first made it. When I first made my coastline, I think it was after video number 1. Because I think it was video number 2, How to Draw Fantasy Map number 2, that I did the mountains. So anyway, I made like 6 or 7 or 8 copies of that coastline, and then I just tried mountains over and over again.
Right, yeah.
And then I finally recorded one of them. But then actually I re-recorded the mountains, and I have a separate video on it. And I don't even think I made it public. I think it's only linked on How to Draw a Fantasy Map 2, and I just redid it, and I just grabbed one of those other copies of my coastline and said, I'm going to try it again. So I think that's a great idea, to have your coastline, make photocopies or scan it, and then you can just keep on messing with it, and you can rearrange cities, and you'll always have those.
Yeah, like I used the first copy of my coastline here, because I have 5 or 6 of them sitting here, to just map out the regions. So I don't know how well you can see that in the camera, but basically I just have all of the different regions sort of mapped out so I know where they're all going to be, and I inked that, so now I can put another coastline copy over this, and I can see the regions through the paper, and now I can start doing like the features and stuff.
Matt, I love how many you have stacked up right there. What is it, like 5?
Yeah. I've got 1,
hey man,
2,
just in case.
3, 4. Yeah, just in case, because here's the thing. I'm going to mess it up.
That is why I love working in Photoshop so far.
I was just going to say, Matt's doing that paper Photoshop.
Yeah,
I have deleted
these are
my
my
map
layers.
3 times.
These are my layers, guys.
Control Z! Control Z!
Control Z is my Dixon Ticonderoga eraser. I don't know what that looks like.
Dude, I love when you say that word, Tim.
Dixon Ticonderoga?
Ticonderoga?
Dixon Ticonderoga.
Yeah, you said it like a champ.
I'll keep practicing. All right, so I'm going to do a little bit more here on the shading now. Actually, now that I'm looking at this needs a little more here. So you can see this white spot right here. That's just from the parchment. I've got a few of those kind of odd spots, and that's fine. You know, it gives it kind of like, there was a really dark one actually right up there that I like took a little because it just bugged me. It was way darker than anything else on the map. So I did it. This is the same parchment I used on the Aeronaut map, but I think I made the Aeronaut map a little bit lighter. And I might make this lighter too, or just change the color. You can do a lot with one parchment. You can, you know, make it a more orangey tone or a more yellowish or whatever. But this one's going to be color, all the whole thing, so that'll be interesting. But yeah, the next step anyway is to either, I could do a couple things here. Either way, I'm going to make a new layer, and you can either do highlights now, or you can do let me see here. This new layer. Yep, create a new layer. Mountain Shade 2, we'll call it. I can do highlights, or I could do the deeper shade. And sometimes I'll put them on the same layer, which is probably dumb. I probably should not do that. And I won't. I'm going to learn. I'm not going to do it. Tim, you're here, and that's why I'm not doing it.
Good.
So this is going to be Mountain Shade 2, so this is going to be now deeper shade. Oh, and it would be important for me to make that an overlay layer. Elsewise, the line will be black. So yeah, I mentioned earlier, you can totally mess with color and try to get a line that, you know, try to get a color that looks good as a shade color. But what the overlay layer does is it just darkens the parchment.
Yeah.
And
it's important to know that the reason why overlay is so great is because it's different than opacity. Those are two different tools that you can use to really great effect if you combine them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, dude. So I am now taking my darker shade, and I have a smaller brush. You know, I'm not doing the big overall, just here's the block in the shade. I'm now taking a smaller brush, still that same grungy brush and dynamic, and I'm going right along the edge of the coast in here. And I will also once in a while just kind of draw a line like that, a little shadow, maybe a line like that, a little shadow there. So going along the edge of the ridge line, I guess it would be. And here's a line, so I'll make that a little darker there. And this can be a little time consuming, so it's all good. And you notice I only did the ridge lines on like the top half of these so far, just to kind of limit myself and say, oh, I'll just show this now. That way you're not watching all of one step.
Oh, that's smart.
I'm going back and forth right now on whether I want to do hand lettering or if I want to not do any lettering and then scan it in and do the lettering on top. I think I'm going to do the lettering on top, like in Photoshop. That way I can have a map that doesn't have everything labeled.
Right.
That's true, yeah. I'm going to make my brush a little bit bigger here.
And I won't have my dumbass handwriting all over it.
Amen.
Whoa.
Amen.
Amen.
Oh, man.
So, Tim, what are you working on right now, man?
So I'm working on my contest map, and I'm right now, I'm in that stage, and dude, I have to pass through this tunnel every time I make anything. And it's this stage of, okay, I'll know if this is going to work when I'm 89% done with it.
Tim,
Yeah.
I'm rocking that same thing, man.
But James, I swear, dude, 1% of the time it fails. The rest, it just is this crazy balancing act. Like, just it all falls together at once, and the happy accidents along the way, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, how did I make that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you.
So that's advice to anyone using Photoshop, is that I feel like I'm doing a terrible job until I'm 89% done with the whole project, which is usually 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah.
So that's normal. If you're out there drawing a map and you hate it, don't crumple it up. Push through. This is part of the process.
Absolutely. Yep.
So yeah, I am not ready to share anything just yet because it's in that sort of like, don't look at me, I'm hideous stage.
Yeah, and that's totally fine.
Because I
I
tried some
appreciate you
wacky
being
stuff.
here.
Yeah, man, this is a blast. Are you kidding?
But of course, I forgot to do some of the left side shading here on some of these.
You're ruining it.
And I can just kind of, sometimes I'll just like do a random like, hey, there's a little dot there on that side. Whatever.
Whatever.
Whatever, you know.
That is your United States of whatever.
Actually, now that I say that, I am going to do a little bit more shading on the left side of these, all the mountains, just lightly.
Nice.
Because then my highlights will stand out more. Just kind of, just hardly even brushing over. And now the one of the things I will say is when you're doing, I'm doing one little mountain range. I'm doing half of a mountain range here, the shading. I might have to come back and just redo this later because if I don't do it all together, sometimes it's different, and that bugs me.
Oh yeah.
So like I should do all the like block shading of the whole map in one step, which can get kind of boring.
Yeah.
But it's good for a consistent look across the map.
I think you just pegged the number one reason why I don't think I'll ever be a good pen and paper artist. Is that I see these crazy pictures and I'm thinking that person spent a week drawing those lines.
Yeah.
Like just the diligence. I was like, man, that's not me, man. I'm not made for that.
Yeah. No, I hear you.
I'm made for cut and paste, baby.
Yeah. You know a lot of tricks to make it work digitally, man. I'll tell you that.
Well, thank you.
That AppTab stuff looks great. All your like the Dragon Grin covers and oh man, they're so cool.
Thank you. One sneaky trick to a good cover.
Okay.
Learn what this Minnesota housewife knows about mapping that the government doesn't want you to know.
Number 7 will shake your foundations.
I'm gonna just catch up on the chat here. I don't think I'm missing too much. That means people are busy mapping. Yeah.
That's good. I know I'm in my Zen place right now. I have little happy trees. What am I saying? There's no happy little trees on Crore.
I was gonna say there's barely trees.
Only happy big trees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to see the Crore version of Bob Ross.
So the Bob Ross landscape.
Watching it right now.
Right here, we're gonna
unfolding.
put a little. You know, I think there's gonna be a little barbarian over here. Little barbarian. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna put a puddle of blood at his feet here. Maybe
At his feet here.
you know, maybe he beheaded somebody, or maybe he maybe he retched up that blood. Maybe he's dehydrated and he's dying.
Oh, good God.
And he's dying.
This is my dream.
Now, what you want to do here is we got to mix up a little regurgitation blood. I want to take a little indigo blue. I want to take a little.
Yes.
A little. What's the red that he uses all the time?
Vampire murder.
Hey, I gotta look up. He always it's the same colors every time.
He does.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah, a little yellow ochre here, a little titanium white on your knife here, just a little bit on the knife there.
Phthalo blue is the one. What is that? Alizarin crimson. That's the one. Alizarin
Is that a
crimson.
word he uses?
Yeah.
Chad, I used 2.8.14, I just realized. And look, they even have this little animation credits on their About thing. How freaking cool is that? Okay, anyway. Yeah, I think we should work on these, a new YouTube channel. It's something like, I don't know, Crore Bob Ross. I don't know what we call it.
Crore Bob Ross.
It needs to happen. He wears a choker chain with spikes on it.
Yeah.
He's got
Still the fro.
tattoos all over. Still the fro.
Yeah, he still has the fro and the little goatee.
Can we
Yeah.
just call him Cragman Ross?
Cragman Ross.
Ross. I dig
And
it.
he still brings animals into the studio every once in a while, but it's like deadly predators from Cror's Wilds.
Yes.
Just like he's like, well, we have a very special treat today in the studio. We have a Torgal from the Shattered Spine. This is a 3-armed ape that can peel the skin of its face back. Look at him. Look at him. He's just peeling the skin back right off his face.
Yeah.
Isn't that something?
Ain't that just the cutest thing you've seen this side of hell?
This
side of hell.
All right, so for anybody watching, I'm pretending I know how to make a map here.
Oh, dude, no, let me in there.
I'm being
Hold on.
brave.
Oh, no.
Dude, wait,
Yeah,
James.
James.
Holy crap! Hang on, let me see that. James, that's city though, man.
Dude, I
Dude,
know!
okay, so
Oh.
originally everything was black and gray, which I didn't like, so I added a parchment. So I have to go back over these and shade them. But I'm super happy with how the city came out. If you notice
Dude.
here, there's a bunch of
James.
extra white going on, but I'm loving that city so
looks
good.
so cool.
Dude, yeah.
This is
I
probably
love
the
the
best part.
bridge.
This forest is my crowning glory. This was
Dude.
I like that.
I transferred this from it was white, and I just made it an overlay layer. So I need to do something to lighten that contrast up a little.
Yeah.
But we're not going to worry about that for now. This
Yeah,
too,
dude.
my standing
Another
stones
big key.
Oh,
didn't really
Oh,
James,
work
you
so
can
well.
draw!
killing it, man.
Yeah, you can draw, man.
This is so much work.
Based on what you were saying, I was like, dude, it's going to be brutal when James shows us his map.
Brutal.
Because you were just so hard on yourself. And this
Because every
looks
time I
great,
open
man.
it, I'm like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Hey, James, I have one simple trick that'll blow your mind. That's me with everything that I do every day of my life.
Every time you open something, you're like, dude, what am I even doing here?
No, just in general. Just
in general.
driving.
In general.
What am I doing? Why does someone trust me with this thing?
Dude, Matt, I'm behind you on the road every day on the way home from work.
I'm like at my job. I'm like at my job, and I'm like, they shouldn't trust me with this.
You're like, dude, what if I get these specs wrong? Somebody's gonna
Yeah.
be pooping in the sink.
this is like a
Well,
this is a wastewater treatment plant. I don't want to be pumping poop back in people's houses.
Pumping poop back and forth forever.
One simple trick to flow back poop back and forth forever.
So as you can see, my technique is random and has no rhyme
I
or
love
reason.
it. Dude, you're killing it. Like, honestly,
Yeah, it's looking
man,
good.
I absolutely am going for novelty. Like, I'm not making a joke map at all, but I'm going for, like, that, oh, that's cool, because I know I cannot stand amongst you giants.
Hey, man. I'm excited to see what you do because you, like I said, you've got some tricks, man. I know you do.
Yeah, I'm working some tricks, I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah, I've seen a Tim map before, and
Yeah.
I'm like, it was pretty awesome.
Jake, Mini Terrain Domain, said, sees James's city, sighs, crumbles map up in a ball, and turns on Overwatch.
Dude, that city took a long time.
Yeah.
Like, for real. And even still, I didn't like. I don't know. I like it now more that it's been a week.
Uh-huh.
Oh, don't you love that?
All right, so I'm going to do my highlighting here. Oh, he's got the Crore Bob Ross. Yes, you nailed it.
Cragman Ross.
All right, so I actually switched from my grungy brush. I don't remember actually. Now that I was just using it, I'm thinking like I don't think I used this on a lot of my maps. That grungy brush. I think I actually just used a round brush. It's really good when you're doing like an overall texture and like when I did my one color map that I've done, just like running it over the whole ground here, that grungy brush with like a green, just to get like a little variation so that it looks like grass and it's not like just all solid grass. But on the mountains, I think a round brush probably works okay. So anyway, I got a little fuzzy edge on this one, but I'm going to do some highlighting by switching over to white with an overlay layer.
What kind of
Oops,
white?
I'm in burn mode.
Nate,
go.
what kind of white is it, Nate?
It's a titanium white, and I just got a
That's
little
right.
bit on the edge of the knife here.
I'm
See there?
gonna mix in a little phthalo blue and why not a little alizarin crimson.
Absolutely.
Now, I've got to say, I have not watched Bob Ross nearly enough,
Well,
apparently.
it's on Netflix now, so we're
It's
all
on
I'm aware.
YouTube. It's on YouTube too.
Yeah.
lies.
No, it is.
Trust
Every
me,
episode
it's not
out
like
there.
I've been itching to watch Bob Ross, and now that it's on Netflix, that's like some revelation.
But the thing is, you don't
Oh.
know, but you secretly have been itching to watch Bob Ross. There's a spot in your soul that's just warmer after you watch Bob Ross.
It's like,
Yeah.
dude, Bob Ross me.
Because he's just like, oh, a happy tree here. We're gonna...
Dude, Bob Ross will put me to sleep and
Yeah.
make me feel
Absolutely.
good about because he's just like, there's no mistakes here. There's no mistakes. This is your world. This is your painting.
You're like, oh,
And you're like, it is, Bob. It is my world. It's my
a young man in Kansas.
Take it.
He was doing it wrong. I'm not gonna lie to you. That was ugly painting. But he was a sweet young man. I met his dog. You're like, oh, all right.
All right.
So Nate, I have a I have a Photoshop tip
Yeah.
for anyone GIMP or Photoshop that will save your life.
One crazy tip.
One
They don't
crazy
want you to
tip.
know.
I use Google Docs now, but any form of this, make yourself a tiny little design Bible. And it can be super easy, but if you're using some crazy technique on something, just write yourself a stupid little note saying, discovered new shading, flipped brush backwards, used shape of garbage can. Because in a year, when you're like, oh my God, how did I do that?
Yeah.
You're having to rediscover things you've already done the work for.
Yeah, dude.
So, like, I have these little design Bibles for the Absolute Tabletop stuff because all of the books are so different looking.
Yep.
That I have to get in that mode, and by just scanning over that real quick, I'm like, oh, that's right. Okay, here's my palette. I use these brushes. All right. And I get back in my zone.
Tim, that's like the equivalent of documentation for coding. You're like, all right, this
nice.
doesn't make any sense. And when I come back in 2 years and go, oh, that's weird. Oh, that must be a bug. I'll fix it. You fix it in 20 minutes. And then for 40 minutes, you're like, what is going on? And then you realize, oh, I remember now. But I'm like, if I would have simply documented that, we would all be happier.
Yep. So that's exactly what it's like. And it can be dumb notes. I like making stupid stuff. Like, I'll put in the design doc, tonight we joked about Bob Ross and Crore. Because I'll be like, oh, I'm an idiot.
He just likes to be reminded of that sometimes.
Yeah.
I text him like on the daily about that. So a few tips if you're using Photoshop, Nate. I don't think this will help you at all because they're hotkeys. But the benefit I had of starting to use a tablet was already knowing hotkeys in Photoshop. Now there are a few interesting ones, particularly for me, that I use all the time. So sometimes my tablet doesn't.
Yeah, learn your hotkeys, man. It'll save you hours over the course of it.
It'll save your life.
Hotkeys.
One of the
D
things.
automatically. What?
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, pressing the letter D automatically sets your colors to black and white. And then if you press X, it switches them.
Dude.
So when I'm shading, I'm using black and white, and so I'm basically always hitting X. And you can just do some light, and then hit X and do some dark. And I love that. The other one is the space bar. Turns everything into a hand, so that's how I move around. And then really that's it. I'd say that those are the main ones where I'm like, oh, that was the other one. The numbers at the top when you're using a brush, if you press 4, it automatically sets your opacity to 40. If you hit 2 numbers quick, it'll do a 45. But you can hit 0 and 100. You're like, I want full opacity, and then you go down to 3, and you're like, okay, I just want a little bit. That's another big one for me.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That is. Yeah. I'm gonna make note to look up some of the GIMP hotkeys because some of them might be the same. But the space bar, man, my finger is always on it. So I've got one hand on my stylus pen thing and one hand on the space bar, and I'm just like moving around, grabbing.
Yeah, dude, all the time. When I learned that, even before a tablet, that changed my life.
Yeah. Well, do you guys remember when, like 2 months ago, I might have been working on the Aeronaut map. I don't remember. I got it like stuck, and it was like GIMP was just frozen completely, and I couldn't figure it out. And James, you were like looking stuff up for me, like you always do. You're such a good friend. And you're like, dude, just hit the space bar. Try that. And that was it. I like had the space bar somehow was like registered stuck down in
Oh,
GIMP,
yeah.
and so it wouldn't do anything.
So that happens to me a lot in Chrome. In my Chrome browser, what will happen is occasionally I won't be able to click on my tabs. And this happens just rarely enough that I always forget. What will happen is I can't click my tabs. I can control tab through them. They all work. The browser's not frozen. It's because the browser thinks my right click is stuck in. And it bothers the crap out of me, but it's the same thing where you're like, no, it thinks something is stuck in, and so it
Right.
does that. I'm
Can't
like,
think
yeah,
of a
man, I hate
command
that.
or whatever.
So I think I'm pretty much done with my my mountains for now. I see a couple things actually, like this one right here is not dark enough. I need to, oh, I have it on white still. Let me switch to black. There we go. So yeah, again, in overlay mode, white is not actually making it white. It's just lightening what's already there quite a bit. And so yeah, I think this is pretty good. Again, I may redo this, but if I zoom out a little bit, I'm pretty happy with how those mountains, at least the top ones, look. That white thing is actually bugging me now that I look at it a little longer. So I may mess with that. Although when you zoom out, like no one's gonna see that. Yep, yeah. I still see it. I still see it. Oh! But,
Nate, I'm gonna level with you. I would erase that white thing. Step one. That stuff drives me nuts. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Because I didn't put it there. That's why.
It's part of the natural parchment look, Tim. Come on.
To anyone who's curious, I'm doing the exact same thing Nate is. I have an overlay layer. I found a parchment. I have an overlay layer, and I'm painting black onto overlay layers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's exactly
you
what
don't need to find the right color. You just get that parchment, and that's one of the things when I think Matt, when I was doing Aeronaut, you said, could you maybe do like a parchment and a black and white? And I'm like, oh, just let me do parchment, man, because I want to do that shading. And
exactly. Well, and it makes for a better looking map in the long run. So
yeah.
Nate, those mountains sing, man. That shading on there is so good.
Well, thanks, man. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with it.
That looks great.
I think one thing I'm learning is I think I need to make my mountains in general more dense, and these are more dense than many of my other mountains have been. But yeah, I think that helps to just kind of fill things out and just make it look, I don't know, it just looks cool when there's just all these mountains just like butted up against each other.
Yeah.
So I might like fill one in right there, or I don't know. Yeah. But there was one thing before I forget that someone asked on one of my videos a couple days ago that I wanted to address, and that is, and maybe you guys can talk too about this, but mapping software. I know that yeah, I think what was it? Yeah, I think it was just someone asking actually about what mapping software is out there and what's recommended, and so I use GIMP. It is not mapping software. It's basically Photoshop for free, and open source, whatever. It is fine. It's good, but things like GIMP, Photoshop, Illustrator, like they require usually either some really good knowledge of the program or good artistic ability and ability to learn the program, learn enough, I guess, which is kind of where I am. Like I have some decent artistic ability, I can doodle things okay, and I'm willing to put in the time to learn enough to get by. Would you guys agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So other than that, I'll mention a couple, and you guys probably know more than me. Incarnate is one that I've used, and I know a lot of people are familiar with that one. It's in free beta for the last year and a half or something crazy. And not that long.
Forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I went and used it after I realized I assumed it was a for pay thing, And then, yeah, I saw your video about how it was still in beta, and I was like, oh, man, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's one that that I would recommend people checking out if you're interested. And Abdullah, I just got your map on Facebook, and it's in Incarnate, and it looks good, man. I like it. Incarnate is great because it's just you just jump in and do it. It's almost like having Photoshop with all your brushes specific for mapping and colors just there. It's even easier than that. So it's really handy for that. And if you're a DM who's looking for a way to get a quick, decent-looking map, like in an hour or less, like you can do quite a bit in Incarnate with a K.
You know what Incarnate reminds me of?
What?
I'm trying to find an image of it, and I'm not going to be able to find it. Back in the 90s, there was a Advanced Dungeons and Dragons CD-ROM that you could buy that like came with the rules and like a character creator, and it came with a mapping program.
Exactly what you're talking about, man.
That mapping program, oh my God, I got so much use out of that mapping program to the point where I actually mounted the ROM on my laptop like 15 years after it came out to use it again. I was like, I got it. There's no other mapping software that does what this mapping software does, because it was literally like MS Paint for fantasy maps. You would pick a brush that was like, oh, this paints on cities, this paints on trees, this paints on mountains, and you would just draw it, and it was, oh man, it was so cool. I'm trying to find an image of what it looked like, because it was like super basic, but for somebody like me that loved maps but wasn't very good at drawing, it was amazing.
Yeah. So wait, what was that called, Matt? Or are you looking?
I'm trying to find it. I can't. Maybe someone in the chat will remember, but
yeah.
I can't remember. AD&D CD-ROM map.
While you're looking, I'll talk about a couple others that I've heard of but never used. Campaign Cartographer. Any of you guys use that?
No, I've used it
heard of that
before,
one too.
and I hated using it. I know that it has a very steep learning curve, and once you get over that learning curve, it's great, but I could not stand using that program.
Once you get over that learning curve, it's fine.
Okay.
It's not even great. It's like you're like, oh, okay, because there are a few things. So Matt, I'm so with you. Like, once you figure out how to use it and then use it, it still takes quite a long time to get certain results that Photoshop can do in an instant.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, I found an image of a map made with it. Okay, I'm gonna screen share really quick. This is just a rush of nostalgia right now. So this is what the maps would look like.
Oh man,
dude, I know exactly what you're talking about.
It looks cool, actually. It looks like something with like a 1990s CD-ROM RPG or something.
So all of this stuff was brushes. So you would brush on. You would start with just the ocean, and then you would brush on the land, and then you could do the different types of terrain. You could brush on lakes, brush on forests. Like there was a brush for this volcano, and then you could add text and stuff. And I remember it was such a pain to export it because I would always make my maps way too huge, and it would be like, your map is 15 pages, and you're like, shit. Like I made it way too big. It's 15 8.5 by 11 pages. But I have very fond memories of, like, these mountains are in my dreams. When I close my eyes, I see these mountains with a little frosting on top of them, man.
It looks awesome. Like I get a huge, like, never even worked with the program before.
Yeah.
Like it just it reminds me of these old RPGs, like an Ultima game or something.
Yeah, exactly, man. It's very Ultima. Like this is like the overland map, and your little sprite is I'm gonna go down from Bezelberg to Infersumpf here.
Oh, so good.
No, but I love this, and I would love it if WotC would do another like digital package of D&D stuff again, because that was the coolest thing, was getting that D&D CD-ROM. I didn't even play D&D at the time, but I loved messing around with that program and using the mapping software and stuff.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, totally. Yep. All right. So I can't think of. Oh, there's Hexographer, and you've used that before too, Matt, haven't you?
Yes. Yeah, I did use Hexographer for the original Provokers map for the Western Southlands. I love Hexographer. If you're not worried about what the map looks like, if you're just looking for something usable, Hexographer is really awesome and super duper easy to use. It allows you to create. Like I find hex maps very charming. Like where it's like this hex is a tree, this hex is a mountain, this hex is a lake. Like I love that sort of abstract sort of mapping. So Hexographer super worked for me, especially for like a quick and dirty solution to I need to know where things are. But yeah.
So I wanted to shout out to Jake in the chat. He says, Nate, you might have earned yourself another commission because his map foo is 1% grasshopper. The reason I mention that is because I figured out Nate's plan. He did this contest to show people how difficult it is to make maps. And he has succeeded with me. I was like, no, man, I got this. I know Photoshop. I have a tablet. I'm going to make a map. I got in here. I'm like, oh my god, what have I done?
Yeah, I'm sitting here doing maps and I'm like, thank God I didn't do Aeronaut because that map was huge.
It looks so good. It just looks so good.
It did.
Well, thank you guys.
So
and I just stopped. I just started screen sharing. That's just so you couldn't see me steepling my fingers and. No. Yeah. I don't want to like toot my own horn or anything. I think I have a lot left to learn, and there are so many amazing maps out there that I'm inspired by and try to emulate. And like lately I've been looking a ton at Max's maps.
Yeah.
And Tim, you shared one with me the other day. You were like, I'm thinking something like this, and I was like,
oh my god,
that is my favorite map. And it was
that's my favorite map too in the world.
Teleduria or something like that. It's so. I'm gonna screen share it right now.
Screen share it because to me it's my favorite fantasy map I've ever seen ever, and I want Dragon Grain to look like that but with red water.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see this because I have a few that I love, but I want to see what you're working with here.
Yeah, and
Tell me what you're working
so anyway, but I will say this while I cue this up here, it is time consuming. Like, and I think a lot of people don't understand how long it takes, because my earliest maps I could do maybe in 2 or 3 hours. There was one map that I once did in 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah, exactly.
And,
you were like, after that.
But, yeah, it's very time consuming, and I think that a lot of people, when I send them my prices, they're like, what? But it's like, no, I don't think you understand. This is going to be, 15 hours of my life. Like,
yeah. Dude, and I think your commission prices are incredibly reasonable. So
they are so cheap.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So 2 things that immediately sprang to my mind. The first thing is, I would consider myself proficient. Well, I'll let you show that map first.
Oh.
That's the best map I've ever seen.
Oh, yeah.
That's beautiful.
And the closer you get, the better it looks.
Okay, so why... Okay, what... Just because I look at that map and I say, I love that map, but I can't put my finger on why. Somebody explain to me why that map is so good.
Do you want to... Who do you want to go?
Tim, go.
Anybody.
Specifically... the color and the absence of black lines like we were talking about.
Yeah.
So if you look, there is just a wash of color. Look at the ocean. And then it's surrounded by these, like every coastline you have has no hard black lines. It's got these dual or triple lighter, like kind of blue, and everywhere there's a variance in shading. Everywhere. Yeah. If you look at the ground, there are these dustings of brown and, the palette that has been chosen for this map is flawless, and it works so well together. That's what does it for me.
You know what does it for me?
Tell me.
Is that little jagged inlet on the eastern coast called the Bite.
Yeah.
That looks like a mouth with teeth in it. I'm all about that. Oh my god.
So
that looks
good.
so cool.
I will post a link to this in the...
Man, that is so neat.
And then the flourishes. Like, look at the frame that thing's in.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really neat.
Like, that alone is like, man, that would take me a couple hours to really knock out a frame like that for an AbTab book.
Yeah.
But the use of color is flawless, even in the the lines in the background. The what's the word? It's the ocean. I'm dumb.
Latitude and longitude.
Yeah.
Yeah, the I can't think of it. The charting for water lines.
Yeah, I don't know what they're called either.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know if you're reaching for a word that you know, but I'm like, I can't think of a word for that.
Yeah.
But I do need to share something with you guys real quick.
Sure.
Okay.
Am I screen sharing this?
Yeah.
That is from Rob's voice.
Oh wait, hold on.
Fast! Holy crap!
Right?
Okay. There we go.
Dude, it's amazing.
Oh, man.
It's so amazing.
Now there needs to be just a battlefield of blood on that canvas, though.
A battlefield of blood.
Just, yeah.
So I want to say one more thing about that map, and Nate, you don't have to keep it highlighted if you don't want to. But the other thing, Matt, that to me, this is so hard to pull off, but that map perfectly balances light and dark colors. So if you look amidst all of the dark colors, there's always something that pulls out, almost like it's glowing. The whole map appears to glow in certain areas because there's this darkness, but then there's the perfect color is brighter. God, that map kills me.
I love the big crater in the center too, called the Crucible. That's dope.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's really cool.
So I will say this. We dreamt big, and I contacted the guy who does these maps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We cannot afford him.
Yeah. I'm very curious, Tim. Can you?
Yeah.
Can you
I'll
give
tell
us
you, dude. Yeah, let me
Do
get the email up. Hold on.
Because
His
I've
address.
never actually asked like a more professional person, like, what do you charge?
Like, how much do you charge? Like, what's your going rate? Yeah.
Yeah, no, dude, absolutely. So
I charge $550.
He first of all, he asked me, "Is this a commission for a commercial or a published project?" Basically, he's like, "Hey, I'm pretty busy, and I tend to focus on commercial more than just homebrew stuff."
Right.
So I went through and I explained to him what I was looking for. Now I will give him this. I essentially asked for it pretty large because of what we were planning on doing at first.
Mm-hmm.
I asked for him to make it at 24 by 36, which would essentially mean that I could print it at a poster size immediately.
Right.
Without any resizing. I might have gotten it cheaper if I went lower than that.
Yeah.
But so for a 24 by 36 map in that style, he quoted me in pounds. I want you guys to guess.
In pounds?
In pounds. Just
Come
guess
on, dude.
$800.
Okay, you guess 800, Nate. What do you think?
800 pounds.
All right. What do you think?
I'm gonna say $925. I don't know what pounds are. I think it would be less than pounds.
Sorry, yeah. So no, it would be more.
Okay.
I think essentially the euro, right?
I'm an ignorant American.
No, you're good. So basically, yeah. So it's like it's a little more than $1.
Okay. Yeah. So then it would be less. So if it were 800 American,
then it would be
less in
pounds. Yeah, and I'm not trying to be weird. I just
more in pounds.
Well, no. Less pounds.
800
fewer pounds.
No, you're right.
A pound is worth more.
A pound is worth more, so it would be less
Correct.
in pounds.
Yeah.
Correct.
So 1 pound might be $1.50 or something, or $2.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. But the idea being that if we were purchasing it, we are spending more than the. So if he says 800 pounds,
And it would
it's
be
more
like,
American. But I'm thinking the opposite.
Correct.
Yeah.
All right. So James, what was your guess?
I remember the number, so I don't think I'm allowed to guess.
All right. So I'll tell you that to get the Dragon Grin map, the size of the Aeronaut map was going to cost us 1,800 pounds, which is $2,300.
Oh, man.
$2,389.
Oh, yeah. I'm not surprised though.
Not at all.
and
Not even a
listen,
little bit.
Listen,
It would
I
be
decided.
so beautiful too.
Yeah, I thought it can't hurt to ask, right?
Right.
So
Totally.
my immediate response was, "Hey, man, That makes perfect sense. Your quotes are very fair. It's clearly what you're worth. We cannot afford to hire you. We are a small publisher, and you're outside of our budget. Like, I made it clear to him, like, yo, man, my bad.
Yeah, it wasn't anything you did, but
Yep.
Oh, no, that's
not gonna happen.
Tim's on Map Price is Right, and he wages $1. Boom, 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 boom.
Right. And I made it clear. I said, you're not too expensive. I said,
Yeah.
I think you're in line with what you're charging. It's just outside of our budget right now.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
he's like, he was super cool about it. Hey, man, this makes sense. He goes, look, I understand. He said, good luck with your project. Feel free to contact me anytime if you think we'll have a chance to collaborate. So I was like, dude,
Yeah.
that's one of my personal goals, is to be in a situation in AbTab where it's like, yo, it's time to get that Maxim Plast.
That $2,300 map, that gold-plated map.
That
Mm-hmm.
Gibson Les Paul Studio.
It's like, I'm done with the Epiphone. I'm getting the Gibson.
So anyway, yeah.
Yep. Thank you for sharing that, Tim, because, again,
For
I've
sure.
never asked one of these guys. And I thought about actually going to the Cartographers Guild and just saying, like, hey, you know, what do you charge, man? Like, you know, to some of these bigger names. And, yeah, so that's helpful.
Sure.
Don't worry, folks. I'm not going to up my rates all crazy.
Well, if your maps start looking like that, I mean, it's reasonable to charge more. Let's be
You
real
know,
here.
Yeah, and I
just
think
saying.
that, yeah, totally.
That is.
Yep. Well, guys, I think we're going to about call it quits here, because I got to pee really bad.
I love that that's the reason. Like,
Yeah.
Nate's up front, man. He didn't have to tell us that.
All right, well, I think we're going to go ahead and call it because I got to use the toilet.
Yep. And well, guys, I'm yeah. All right. So I was gonna maybe try to draw a little city right here, but I will show just a couple other things before I leave here. You know, we were talking about the importance of layers, and one thing I did this with you too, Matt. I kind of like color coded and put in all these blocky, like, here's where mountains go. Forests are kind of this green ugly thing, and like, so I'm trying to do that a little bit with this one. I just have rough locations here. I can up the opacity so you can see where some things are going. And I put in the names here, even though he's not going to have any of these. But a couple of interesting things here. We've got some mines and mountains. Here's one that I was talking about the other day with you, Tim, and James, where the Mariner's Watch here, the rivers are going to be coming out of this. And this is not the way it works naturally, but
Right.
this is a land that has been formed. The geography itself is teeming with magic. Yeah.
Okay.
And that's what's formed this. So yeah, it's going to be a city that has just rivers coming out of it, snaking throughout the whole land mass. So I'm excited to do that. I'm also going to be doing some lava rivers up in this region.
Cool.
I'm super pumped for that. So
That's rad.
yeah, I kind of already have an idea of how I'm going to do it, but
I might have to pick your brain about that, Nate, because I have a volcanic region in Kror, and I'm like sitting here, and I got to the border of it, and I'm like, oh, I don't know how to do that.
yeah, man.
Get to do the
Yeah.
lava.
But in terms of the color, that's going to be the big thing for me, and it's going to be the most time-consuming part for me. It's just kind of
Right.
experimenting until I get it to look right, because I've done color map before, but I've never done a whole world map that's colored before. So
Yeah, that's a big task, man.
yeah, so I think I'm going to be, like, not killing myself trying to go crazy here, but doing gray, a gray hue on the mountains, and then from there it's going to be depending on which of the four regions we're in. It could be a little more whitish, the frozen wastes, obviously.
Yeah.
A little more orangish and brown or green, and yeah, so
Very cool.
it's going to be a colorful map by the time it's
Another
done.
thing I like about this map is how it looks like everything would fit together if you pushed all the land masses together again. It looks like it would all just fit together like puzzle
Yeah.
pieces. I like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, and that's totally his design that I followed. So yeah,
Very
I
cool.
think it's very cool.
Yeah, I think that's going to turn out awesome, man. I can't wait to see the finished product.
Yeah, thanks. And you guys are doing awesome work too. I'm going to zoom in on James here, digging it. Yeah, those mountains are looking good,
They're my
man.
mountains, because after switching from black and gray, it just didn't work, and I've learned
that's right.
a lot since I've done this. So I'm like, you know what?
Yeah, that looks great, James.
Yep, totally, dude. Yeah. Well, cool, guys. Well, thanks for joining me. Everyone in the chat, thank you so much for joining in. And, yeah, I'm going to stick around. I do play Skyrim, Abdullah. I'm going to stick around and answer questions in the chat before I close it, but I will end the broadcast here and see if there's any questions that I can answer typing while I sit on the toilet with my laptop. I'm just kidding.
Nah, he's not kidding.
Not.
Kidding, not kidding. All right, so thanks so much, everybody. Oh, don't forget the contest. Entries are due July 14, and you can check out all the details in the description down below. I have a link to my website for that. And Matt, Tim, James, thanks so much for joining in here.
Dude, thank you for having us, man. This was so much fun to hang out, and I got some good mapping done, so I'm pretty pleased with
And I was so glad I could help you out with your rulers, man.
Yes, James.
Makes me feel worthwhile.
That was why I had the Mappening tonight.
I was considering not jumping in, and I saw that, and I was like, gosh,
Yeah.
I feel like I gotta help him here.
I gotta put me in, coach.
Oh,
James
me in,
is sitting
coach.
on the bench.
All right. Everyone, have a good evening. Bye-bye. Cool.
Dude, Nate, that was awesome, man. Anytime.
Yeah, dude.
I'll jump in and mess up your mapping anytime you want.
Well, hey, you're going to mess it up next time with some
Oh,
Dragon
yeah.
Grin.
Dude,
Oh, yeah.
Dragon Grin messes everything up.
It's very true.
Dragon Grin just straight messed up, man.
Straight up, though.
Cool. All right.
You need
Well,
to
I'm
pee,
out of
right?
here, guys.
Yeah,
Oh,
me too.
You know what? Did I really stop the broadcast? I don't
Nope.
think I did.
Live.
We're
Still
still
alive.
Stop button, I swear. I think I hit the stop screen share.
Man, I'm glad I didn't say the thing about Barker that I was just about to say.
Oh, man.
yeah,
No,
man.
yeah,
Holy
like how
cow.
he was just...
Just when he said that thing to me, and I was like, Barker, here's the thing, dude. And I said, Barker.
And I quote.
exact words. Here's what I said to Barker. I said,